Welcome to The Snack, a lighter serving of Girls Gotta Eat.
This is a Dear Media production.
Enjoy.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Election Thursday.
Bit of a different tone at the beginning of this episode than the second part. So we'll talk about the election results as they have come in. And the second part of the episode, bit of a different tone.
Well, we recorded separately.
Yeah.
Yes. So you'll notice an outfit change. I dressed for this occasion today.
I'm in mourning.
You're in mourning. Yeah. So just want to be transparent about that we waited until the results came in to come in and record this, and the other was previously recorded. So with that being said, no more election texts. I'm kidding. They're never going to stop. I'm trying to find the silver lining. No. Anyway.
Here we are. All right. Well, let's take our partners. Thanks to Robinhood Gold. Get the privilege of high net worth for any net worth for $5 a month at Robinhood.com/gold.
And thank you to Via. Get 15% off at viahemp.com with code GGE. And just check the link in our episode description for that one as well.
Yeah. So we're recording this Wednesday morning. We have the election results in, and Donald Trump has won the presidential election. So a convicted felon, twice impeached, is back in the White House. And what I feel today is a lot of grief and anger and sadness over this decision, and done a lot of crying and self-reflection. And I don't understand it. I'm genuinely sickened by a lot of you, but this is the decision, and I don't like it that we are there, but this is where we are. And I know a lot of people are afraid and feel hopeless, and that's very understanding. People voted for him because they want some sort of change they haven't seen, and they believe he'll be that change in this country that they want to see, that the current administration couldn't do. And while I don't necessarily believe that, I can't sit here and feel poorly about every person that voted for him, because that's the people around me, and I can't go through life being angry and upset and mistrustful at a huge amount of the country around me. And that is how I felt today. Mm-hmm. Really angry and mad, and I don't understand how people have done this. It feels like to me, and I don't want to feel like that.
Yeah. Can I tell you that in 2020, on Saturday after the election, when Biden was announced as the winner and we all celebrated and we rejoiced and all that, and I remember talking to you and I was like, okay, it's over. He's done. We're done with him. And you said, no, he's going to run again. And I said, shut up. No, he's not. He won't be allowed to run again. He's going to be in jail. He's been impeached. Like, Raina, do you remember this? You were like, he's going to run in 2024. I said, no, he's not.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and then I obviously slowly started to realize that. But like, it's so crazy because I was naive enough to think in 2020 this was over. And like, it's so unprecedented. I mean, if you're a supporter of him, you are like, what a king. He's against all odds.
He can't be killed. You can't do it. It's a term.
I had that memory the other day of me being like, Raina is so dumb. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. But I just was like, is she right?
I've had boyfriends over the years be like, he's going to run and absolutely win. And I've been like, you're so dumb. You're so dumb. That can't possibly happen.
No, I feel like
look at me with egg on my face.
You would say that to me, and I'd be like, bop, 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 bop. He can't run from jail. Look at him go. God damn. We're laughing so we don't cry. I don't want to cry on here.
Yeah.
I want to validate your tears. 2016, it's felt different, but the same. Like, this feels familiar. Mm-hmm. But less surprised this time. I was shell-shocked in 2016. I was completely blindsided, and I don't feel like that now. I think that we all could have known this was a strong possibility, or somehow knew it deep down, even if we didn't want to admit it to ourselves. So it's like I am comparing the two emotions.
It felt like a much more real possibility this time around, and he's up against a candidate that got tossed in the last quarter, and he won already. So why wouldn't he? You know.
We really have to take a look at him winning this fair and square and winning the popular vote. You know, I don't know what I would have preferred, because it was so hard to stomach that Hillary won the popular vote, and it makes you even more mad at the Electoral College and the way our political system is structured. But he took both.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Like, would I rather, like,
Yeah, I know. I don't.
He took Miami for the first time in 36 years. It went Republican. Georgia, Pennsylvania, all these swing states.
Georgia.
I mean, people really came out in droves for him. And this is what people want. I might be against every policy I've ever heard him speak, and I really do believe that. But I have to hope that my worst fears won't be realized.
Yeah.
And I have to tell myself that nothing is ever as bad as you think it's going to be, and that there's like good people in the government that want what's right and best for us. And I know there's so much like good in this world. This audience is amazing, and the messages we got were so incredible. And so many of you said I voted for the first time, and I had really hard conversations with my partners, my parents. I'm really proud of like what you and I have done, and Tessa and this audience, and there is good in this world. And I want to thank all of our listeners for having those tough conversations and voting. And people really did try. It's not for nothing. I am proud of this. And it does make you think, like, did I fight so hard for nothing?
No. If you dedicated your time and energy, even if it was just to go out and vote for Kamala and protect women's rights or our democracy or hope for a more unified country, whatever the reasons you would have wanted to vote for her, you should hold your head up high. You should be proud. And if people are trolling you or rubbing this in your face, like, that just speaks to their character. And you wouldn't do that if the roles were reversed. And so I want people to feel like that. And I want people to understand what she did was remarkable in the short amount of time, with all the odds stacked against her, the money she raised, the people she inspired and empowered, the way of us felt when she was running is a feeling I don't want to forget. And I want to give her flowers for like the position she was put in and what she did with it. Not cry. I feel really strongly about that.
Yeah, I felt really inspired by her. I think she ran a campaign based on love and hope and excitement and joy and positivity. And I think she was up against somebody that ran a campaign based on hate and somehow won. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that everybody that voted for him is this terrible person. You and I don't think that it's some like racist, hateful person that hates all women, even though some days I do feel like that. I guess some people saw good in him, the majority of people, and I don't get it.
Yeah, I want to validate whatever you guys are feeling. You're feeling grief or sadness, anger. It's so heartbreaking to want something so badly and envision how it will feel if it happens, and then have it go the complete other way, and so fearful of what that outcome could be, that it could end badly. And I really don't want to fearmonger, like, we don't know until we know. I want to remember that we have been here before, that life went on, that life was good for a lot of people from 2017 through 2020. We started this podcast when he was president. We toured, we had a good life. But so that may be solace to some people who also felt that way. But a lot of things were also bad for a lot of people. A lot of bad things happened. It felt like every day it was something else that was damaging or discriminatory. And then, of course, when COVID happened, the world changed forever. And I think this time is different because he's more unchecked and he's more emboldened, and the Senate is flipped and the House could stay red. God forbid we lose a Supreme Court justice. Like, what happens in the next 4 years will affect our lives forever. It will affect your children's lives. Women's rights goes without saying, but there's so many other massive things, like dismantling these government agencies that regulate things like our food and our water and our clean air, and like what big corporations are able to do. And there's gun control, and there's accessible quality education, and there's so many things. And so it feels really scary.
Yeah, it's hard to really know how I feel or find the silver lining in a situation that I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, a lot of promises have been made, like dismantling the Affordable Care Act and the entire Department of Education and taking away women's rights, a national abortion ban. I mean, there's so many things that have been promised. The mass deportation day one. I don't know how these things are going to go. And it's not how I usually operate.
He's a liar.
Yeah, and ineffectual, and I feel like maybe he won't actually get any of this done. Like, it's hard for me to like find silver lining in something that is so unknown. It's the most unknown I've ever felt, and it's not the unknown of one person. It's the unknown of hundreds of people in power for a very long time. So hopefully some of these things will get done, and not as poorly as I think they're going to go. And I like have to hold hope for it.
We have to be hopeful. We cannot stop fighting. are standing up for what we believe in. We can hope by the grace of God, he does a good job. As crazy as that may seem, you have to hope.
I have to hope for it.
I think people go back and forth between I want the best for this country and I want the people who voted for him to get what they asked for. We fucked around and we're about to find out. And I don't feel like that. I don't want this country to fall apart. It affects all of us. You know what I mean? And you and I have privilege. I'm not going to ignore that. We have money and resources and we'll probably be fine. I'm not having kids, we have IUDs, but it's like so many other people will be the collateral damage of whatever could possibly happen. But let's hope it doesn't. This is our country. He's just the person that gets to run it right now, fairly elected. And so my advice is you can feel and do whatever you want, but we can't lose hope. It's always going to be a fight, unfortunately,
And I don't want to be further divided than everybody already is. I think there's a lot of just hate rhetoric going back and forth. And I see so much online being like, well, you guys voted for this. It's your problem now. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
But it's but you do live in this country and this is my president. And I'm not leaving. This is I'm not leaving. I'm not one of those people that's that's not my president and I'm going to move to Canada. I'm not doing those things. That is my president. I live here. I have to figure out a way to go along with this and still feel like I can make change in the world and my voice matters and not forget that tens of millions of people still voted for Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party, and liberals, and still want good in this world, and they're going to keep fighting. And I wrote down this thing that Kamala said in her concession speech today that we were watching, and she said, "This doesn't mean to stop trying and give up. You have the capacity to do extraordinary good work in this world. This is not the time to throw up your hands. It's the time to roll up your sleeves and stay engaged." And I found that really inspiring and beautiful. And I like the message of just don't lean out and be like, this isn't my problem now anymore. This is all of our collective problems.
Yes. And you can take some time and be like, fuck this, I read a lot of comments on different Instagram accounts and whatever. And I mean, I think I want to also always tread lightly. I'm a white woman, obviously. You see a lot of Black women be like, how do we keep fucking doing this? How we keep fighting, we keep trying, and we keep getting, just beat at every turn. And it's I can't understand the way that a person of color would feel, but I can understand that sentiment of wanting to be like, fuck all of y'all,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, you and I can sit here and be like, don't give up and stay hopeful. And people are like, I can't think about that right now. And that's okay too.
Oh, you guys, I've been crying all day.
Right?
I mean,
I know your heart.
I feel like I'm in mourning. Yeah. I feel like this is real grief. And I've oscillated between acceptance and anger all day long. And I think that you and I have a responsibility to spread hope in the world, I mean,
but it's not disingenuous. I'm validating everyone's.
Yeah. So, but I don't want to give the message I don't feel like this. I feel like shit. Yeah. I'm going to spend all day eating food that's bad for me and drinking and crying and watching bad TV. I'm going to do all that shit.
How am I going to come this weekend?
I don't know. But you guys, you guys should buy some vibrators from us. Because on vibesonly.com, honestly, you deserve it. Get yourself a vibrator.
Should we do a sale?
A go fuck yourself sale. Yes.
No, my fiance's coming in tomorrow night. Thank God. I need the support, but how am I supposed to come?
I don't feel
We had a whole
you.
thing planned that we were going to have a woman president. He was going to have to eat my pussy all weekend. Now I got to suck a dick.
There's nobody's going to eat my pussy. I don't feel bad for you.
I know. You don't know that right now.
Shopping in the wrong neighborhood.
You got a little thing going on tomorrow. You might get your pussy ate in the daytime.
I would die if that guy went down on me. Oh my God. He's my dream.
I have to say one good thing is we don't have an angry Donald Trump on our hands. I hate to say it. We don't have a January 6th looming. We don't have some really dangerous people in our world that are really fucking pissed off right now. I hate that that's a silver lining that we even have to discuss. I did watch till the bitter end. I watched his speech. It was a different tone of 2016. I am not giving him credit, but it felt
like
better.
He's older.
Yes, tired.
He's tired.
In 2016, it was so terrifying. It was doom and gloom, and this country is terrible, and there was so much anger and vitriol, and it was really scary. And I remember watching it at 3 a.m. on the East Coast and in Atlanta, and I don't believe anything he says. At least the tone was
that he might die.
That he wants to unite the country. All I'm saying is the tone was different. I'm trying to find any solace where I can. And I will say that. And that's just, maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember it feeling really dark and doom and gloom in 2016. And it felt a little different. And the other silver lining And the best thing to come out of this is the wake-up call to the Democratic Party. This is the fucking punch in the gut that they could ever have. There has been cracks and problems for a long time, and now they have to figure it out. Had we put Kamala into office and we had a Republican Senate that was not going to allow her to get anything done, if she would have failed in any way, it would have been an I told you so. The Democrats are ineffective. A woman can't run the country. And now they are going to have to figure this out. And I've always had problems with the Democrats and at the DNC. I mean, I had a lot of issues with the things they did with this campaign. Like, they deserve some of the blame.
Absolutely.
But then I get so frustrated because I'm like, but why do they need to be held to such a higher standard than Republicans? You know, like, you have Republican leaders like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Mike Johnson, and it's like they're just so out of pocket. And it's like we talk about the mistakes the Democratic Party has made, but it's so frustrating to me that you really had to try that hard and be so much more strategic to go up against a person who tried to overturn an election, who is an accused rapist, who is a convicted felon, who incited people to storm the Capitol, who brags about banning abortion, who is a proven con man to vulnerable people throughout his entire career. You know, the list goes on and on. These are just facts. These are not my opinions. Like, I can hold blame for the Democratic Party, but it's also really enraging and baffling to me that they are held to such a higher standard. And I have really been trying to understand how and why this outcome happened. Like, I've been consuming content and reading articles, even reading people's comments on my own posts that are negative, and just really digging deep on how we got here. That is helpful for me because we talked about this before. You are welcome to boil this all down to everyone is racist and sexist. I don't think that is helpful. Plenty of people are. Plenty of people hate women and hate minorities, but that mindset doesn't move us forward. And there is a lot more depth to why he won.
Absolutely. I mean, I've spent my day reading think pieces about what the Democratic Party did wrong and how propping this candidate up, when we propped her up and how we did it, could have been better. And I really do want to understand what other people see in this, because I have to live here and I have to feel good about this. And so, yeah, I've read tons of comments online, and I also understand I'm not a part of the same news cycle as other people.
Yeah.
Like, everything that's brought to my door is pretty liberal, pretty left. It's pretty, CNN based, and other people are not part of the same cycle that I'm a part of. And so I deeply want to understand this. And I refuse to subscribe to every person that voted for him as a racist, bigot, terrible person, because it's more than half the country.
Yeah. There are a lot of reasons. I can't speak to the Latino vote. I can consume content, but I'm going to speak outside of certain things like that. I can't speak to everybody, and I also can't cover every concern and every possible issue in this, time that we have allotted. But one strong reason is that people are struggling. People are left behind. They're angry. They're unhappy with the country. They're unhappy with how they're living. The working class feels dismissed or overlooked. People can't afford basic necessities. Like, I get that. I have said before, I don't know how people are getting by. You look at the prices of things, how much rent has gone up. All the prices in our country have skyrocketed, and people's incomes aren't rising at the same pace by a long shot. I think about this all the time. Like, people who are unhappy, who are struggling, are going to vote for the opposing party of who's in office. That's why the pendulum swings back and forth every fucking time. It has since the beginning of time. But I find it so concerning and frustrating because Trump and the Republican Party are not the answer to that. This is where I get so angry because, I think there's a real lack of understanding and critical thinking of how, our country actually works, what the economy actually means, how inflation occurs and who's responsible, how corporate greed is at the root of so much of this, how we're still feeling the effects of a global pandemic, the type of world Joe Biden entered into when he became president, how long it actually takes to make change, how people want to say the economy was great when Trump came in office. It was still Obama's economy, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's not logical to blame all your problems on the president and the administration, but that is what a lot of people do, and that's how they vote.
Yeah. I get it. And I also understand that people are single issue voters.
But the Democrats should have done better. This is their job to understand that. This is their job to understand the struggles of the average American better. And they should have honed in on this, and they didn't. And it was like an impossible feat with Joe Biden. Like we were just talking about, how could this even have been done where people would have been okay with it? We don't need to go down that road, but it was just kind of a mess. And I think it was so challenging for Vice President Harris to distance herself from Joe Biden. That's the president and that's her running mate. Like people are unhappy with him. It's hard for her to say, I'll make it better. That's her running mate. She had an impossible feat, and the odds were stacked against her. I still think she did a great job. And I want to say one more thing. I'm sorry, I made so many notes, but like while we talk about people who are struggling who vote for Trump, we can't forget people who are struggling and voted for Kamala. And I was watching Ashley Allison on CNN, she's worked for Obama and Biden Harris, and she's a political commentator. And she's like, people who voted for Kamala are struggling too. Like one person's pain is not greater than another. Like people of color who see Trump as a threat, people who know that under him, police brutality and immunity will only get worse, like immigrants, parents who are worried about their kids getting shot at school because we have no sensible gun control, women, of course, especially women in red states whose reproductive rights are under attack, like they're struggling too. So it's like you can't just say people who are struggling are going to vote for the opposing party, but they are too. If this makes sense, I guess,
I think we saw a lot of people go against what they've normally done or what might be good for just them, for the greater good. We saw a lot of women vote against their husbands. Mm-hmm. And that's been the whole thing this election. It was highly gendered. I think Kamala did as good of a job as she could with what she was given. I listened to a great episode of the New York Times Daily this week that talked about the advertising spend and focus of the two campaigns and how Donald Trump just did a better job because he was in a different position. And it was record numbers spent on, never in history has ever anybody spent this much money on advertising between the two of them.
Yes.
But she had 3 months to introduce herself as a candidate and say, this is my policies, and somehow also distance herself from Joe Biden, which is an impossible feat, and give every single thing that she feels would be on her platform. And it's just, I don't know anybody that could have done it.
I know. Like, I hope I hope things improve in this country for everybody who's struggling. I've said this before. I think America's is too far gone. I mean, I hate to say it sounds so doomsday, but like, I think there's so much greed from everybody. And I worry, Republicans they're not the party for the lower or middle class. Like they never have been. You can look at red states versus blue states when it comes to things like income and education and GDP. And it's just, these are the facts. And it's like Democrats are the ones who put the programs and policies in place to make things more equitable. But people, A, don't want to hear that. And B, they didn't get that message across enough. And what happened. And
she was up against a former president. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't win. This is somebody who's been the president.
Well, and people got to say he was president before and it wasn't that bad. Yeah. But also there's a lot of people that are like, it was bad.
Hello?
Maybe it wasn't that bad for you,
yeah,
white man or whatever the fuck, but it was for me. And again, it's like, you can't bring race into all of this. Plenty of people who are not white voted for this too. And like you said, and Scott Galloway posted this as well, this quote of like, nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems. And I do want to believe that. And, we have to try to understand each other better and we have to try to stay hopeful. I mean, that's all we got. And if your sentiment is like, fuck this, I've done my part and this country fucked me, it's your right too. It's a free country.
However you want to feel.
There are a few wins, it wasn't all bad. I mean, we had 7 states who passed measures protecting or expanding abortion rights as of this moment, the 7 states. 2 Black women will serve together in the Senate for the first time, Maryland and Delaware. We love it. Love to see it. Both are Democrats. And I will say a surge of women entered politics after 2016. We still have a disproportionate number of women in politics, but that really fired people up and fueled them to take action. And I hope we see that again. There's this notion of things have to get really bad and then they will get good. But who's it going to be bad for? Like who's to say? And that's not fair either. And the people that are going to be collateral damage along the way, I feel for.
Well, we love you guys. And thanks for sticking around for all the election coverage and your positivity and voting and all the conversations you had and all the messages you sent us over the last couple of days. Thank you. Us and Tessa, we really love you.
Yeah, like we will certainly not be talking about politics every week, but we will never shy away from issues we're passionate about that affect us and affect our audience, especially women. And, we do want to be a space where you can feel safe and feel represented, but you can still laugh and get advice and, feel inspired from time to time. And you can come out to our shows and like get loose and feel the community and really have fun. And, we want to be here for you every week, twice a week, some holidays excluded. And we love you and we thank you.
It's just not on Christmas.
And I have one more thing, just because I want to remind people that we're going to have a midterm election in 2026. You know, that we could have 2 years and people could change their minds and we could take back the Senate and the House. Let's see, we don't know what's going to happen with the House. So I just want to say that too, because, you know, we talk about 4 years and 2 years and things like that. But, you know, we love you guys and we thank you and we appreciate you being along for the ride. And we're glad we could inspire you, like Raina said up top. And thank you for your messages. And there's no way we covered everything we wanted to say. My feelings and my thoughts are going to continue to change and evolve. And we're going to be consuming more information. And this is what we have to say right now.
Yeah. So next weekend, speaking of shows, we'll see you guys on the road. We have 3 really fun shows. They're Western themed, so come out and enjoy the second half of this episode because it's very content heavy. Lots of fun stuff on television. We're going to break it down, and it's a good lesson.
All right. Well, here it is. Okay, so we have Olivia Rodrigo's dating red flag.
So she was being interviewed by Netflix. Is that what this was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she said, the biggest red flag, this is a very oddly specific question that I ask guys on first dates. I always ask them if they would want to go to space. And if they say yes, I don't date them. I just think if you want to go to space, you're a little too full of yourself.
Okay, what do you think about this?
I think most guys would go to space.
I think most people would go to space.
I think this is a funny little headline to discuss, but it's a 21-year-old. Like, no shade, but it's like, you can take advice from whoever you want, but I didn't know shit about fuck when I was 21. I didn't know a lot when I was 31. Like, I'm just now figuring it out. I think it's a funny, like, kind of young thing. I don't know.
I can see somebody feeling like it's like giving God complex a little bit. That it's like that kind of guy. They're like, I can go to space. I will go to space. I mean, I started thinking like, would I go to space? And if it was comped, I would go to space.
No, I'd go to space on Delta One. Like, what is the accommodations? Like, that's a long trip.
Is it though? Because you just shoot up in the sky.
Right,
it's so
long.
quick.
It's like days.
No.
Tessa, how long do you have to space? Raina, it's a really long.
You're gone
days.
for months.
What do you think? It's just like shooting off to Asia?
Well, I thought you stay up there for a long time, but I don't like if you're gonna go. You have to go through a lot of training. Obviously, your body can't handle it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to go to space. So, like once you're up there, I thought you stay a long time. It's like going to Australia. It's like you're not gonna travel that far and just like come right back. But I thought the actual rocket that goes up into space is pretty quick.
No, the rocket is fast.
But it doesn't take like
It takes so long to get there. How long?
Well, so I think it depends on what you want to
part of space.
Yes.
Okay,
because
the moon.
Like once you will break, how do you break
Show me the moon, Tessa.
How long does it take to break the atmosphere?
So there was on November
5
6th,
hours. Not even.
What?
So on November 16th in 2022, the Artemis 1 spacecraft reached an altitude of 100.6 miles above Earth in 8 minutes and 20 seconds.
Wait, what?
So do you consider 100 miles above Earth space?
Yeah.
Wait, no, you guys.
You're breaking into the atmosphere. What? You think it takes days? It's on a rocket ship. You're not on a ship.
I'm just thinking about Interstellar.
Ashley thinks it's like a sailboat.
In Interstellar, it took a long time to get to where they had to go.
I mean, there's different parts of space.
Okay.
And I think I was being generous.
So we were thinking, I think, more of the moon. On average, it takes about 3 days to travel to the moon, which is about 240,000 miles away.
Mars takes 9 months.
No, it doesn't.
Traveling to Mars. Yes, huh? Traveling to Mars. A transfer to Mars can take around 9 months.
A transfer?
Like a job
on the subway?
No, like you're like a job relocation.
Okay, so to get into space, 8 minutes, but to get anywhere you want to go in space,
So we can define, like Tessa just said, so we can define the boundary of space at about 100 miles above Earth. A rocket can reach space in 6 or 7 minutes. But to reach the ISS, what is that? You cannot just
International
go there.
Space System.
Oh, you cannot just go there. So how long does it take to get to that?
Well, that's on the... Is that on the moon?
I don't know. Where did Buzz Aldrin go? If a guy could explain to me going to space, I would be attracted to that because we can't.
So how long does it get to space? It can take astronauts anywhere from 4 hours to 3 days to reach the space station. Okay, so yes, days is what I'm saying. And I don't think it's like comfortable accommodations. I don't know if this makes me not, I don't know, curious or worldly enough, but I've never really had the desire. But
Worldly. Yeah, you're really unworldly.
I'm otherworldly.
Oh, I think we're busy. I think you got to really
Actually,
train.
I am worldly of this world. That's the only world I care about. I'm not otherworldly.
I feel like it would take months to get your body into the type of shape you have.
I bet you cannot shit up there.
I don't know. Well, everything floats.
Yeah, but like I think you'd be really constipated. Like people get constipated when they go to Europe. Like if you're going to space, you are going to be backed up for weeks.
Yeah, but like what you poop and like it probably vacuums it out.
No, stop. I
it would
never
float.
thought about pooping. You just have.
I looked it up. Astronauts can poop in space using a specially designed vacuum toilet.
And that is why I'm not going. If I can't poop regularly,
Yeah, I don't mind having something I don't mind poop being vacuumed out of
the
me.
food too, that like freeze dried food.
So I went to space camp.
No, you did not. Stop it. No, you didn't.
Yeah, this summer job when I was a kid, I went to space
Real
camp.
deal space camp.
I didn't go away. Like my mom would drop me off on the daily.
It's a day camp.
Like a day camp.
Yeah,
Space.
I went to art camp.
I went to space day camp.
Okay.
And we learned about like freeze dried foods and we tried it. We like played with the different parts of like the rocket ship. And it was like cute.
Well, we went to the Space Museum. The Smithsonian has Air and Space Museum, whatever.
We had those in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
We would take field trips there
Science
all the time, like
museums.
from Delaware. Like I ate a lot of that, like freeze dried. It was so fun back in the day. But so one part of this story I think is funny is that Grimes, who is Elon Musk's ex and mother of his children, wrote on X under a repost of Rodrigo's comments, "It's true, only women should be going to space," which I like that comment, but she's throwing shade at Elon, SpaceX, I guess.
I love that
think
she
it's
used this
funny.
opportunity to troll him. I think it's amazing. I agree women should go. Also, can you afford to go to space? Green flag.
Right.
You got to spend a lot of money to go to space. That's not just, they're just like, wasn't Pete Davidson going to go to
Yeah,
space?
there
And it was like a
something
whole
about that.
thing.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, the comments are not really in support of this, which also, who cares? It's like a lighthearted, funny thing.
Totally.
You can have whatever red flags you want, but it's not saying like one day I will. That is full of yourself, I think. Also, still not mad at it if you really think you're going to achieve that sort of like wealth or whatever it takes. But
Love a man with a goal.
yeah,
Interests.
like if your goal is like one day I'll go there. Also, as we discussed a few weeks ago, it is a sexy hobby to be interested in astronomy, as most women have decided. So like any guy who's interested in that at all would want to go to space. I asked my fiance, I said, I have a question for you. Would you want to go to space? Yes, period. That's all I need to know.
Like engineering, science,
Yes.
it's somebody who's exploring. It's a man who loves to travel. I think it's really cool.
I don't know how she got there. And again, like leave her alone. It's funny, but like I'm curious what her mindset is of why that means you're full of yourself. It's like most men I could think of. I don't think my brother would because I think he'd be too physically uncomfortable. I don't think they have, the like
My brother could fit in a little pocket seat.
yeah.
I think it's got a God complex. I think it's like I should be able to do this thing that the smallest portion of the population can do. I mean, you have to have like incredible athleticism to be a scientist, to be like smart, and I
don't think anyone's thinking that deep about it. I think if you ask a guy
you
straight up
asked me, I'm breaking it down.
right, but that's as a straight up ask a guy in a date. I think most of them are going to say, yeah, for sure, and they're not thinking like all of the things that would have to happen for you to go there. I think they're thinking like one day it'll be more accessible, and I'd go.
Yeah, I think
Given the opportunity, I'd go.
most women would say yes too.
Yeah. Like, do you want to go on a submarine to?
Yes.
Do you want to go on? No. Do you want to go on an unregulated submarine to the Titanic? No. They died. But space, safe.
Space is scary. Space scares
I do
me.
feel a little scared about it.
Would you rather space or submarine? Bottom of the ocean or top of the sky?
Space, a million.
A million percent
No,
space.
stop. Bottom of the ocean right now.
What if you just
I can't even.
What?
It makes me feel so scared.
But
I'm like low key scared of the ocean.
but the atmosphere that doesn't
Way back-
scare, you
no,
can just
stop.
fall out of the sky.
Too much submarine deaths. I mean, it was that main one.
I mean, rockets explode as they take off. You
Just
could
the ones that are supposed to.
no.
Rocket deaths. Text
Yeah.
Google rocket deaths.
Yeah, there are. There's been horrible launches where people have died.
Because they were in the rocket.
Yeah,
Or
they were
got
in the
hit by, like,
rocket.
debris.
They were in the rocket.
Oh my god. All right. Well, listen, I'm not going.
Okay.
And my man's not going. We have a family of 2, 3 with Azul. You can't go. Okay, so I just think it's interesting. And it was funny because our friend who sent us this article, Lex Nico, who we've mentioned before, Lex Nico is her Instagram handle. I just call her that. She was like, I need to hear you guys discuss this. And she was like, maybe I should be thinking this way if the kids are doing it. I'm like, no, we're not taking dating advice from the kids. No offense to the kids, but 21, like
What's good for a 21-year-old is not, it's not good for a 39-year-old. You guys do you, respect.
That's it.
I'm
That's
going to do
what it
me,
is.
also respect. You know, I have a different body type than you. I have lived a little more life than you, and I make different decisions. The stuff I did when I was 21, little crazy.
Yeah, if this is Gen Z's filtering system, go off.
Great. Don't do anything I would do. I don't care. What do I care?
Okay, well, we're just going to take a quick break and then we will get back into it. I am telling you guys about Via. Okay, I love this brand so much. So, this is a way that you can restore your zen and embrace the natural power of cannabis this holiday season. You can unwind and recharge with Via with their premium THC and THC free gummies. They'll help you find your perfect balance. So, Via is well renowned for their award winning THC and THC free gummies and vapes, THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops, all crafted with the highest quality hemp source from trusted, independently owned American farms. And they legally ship to nearly all states in the US in discreet packaging directly to your door, worry-free guarantee, no medical card required. So I really love these. I am doing the THC free ones. So I just did the Zen CBD sleep gummies, the THC free again. I don't want to say it knocked me right out, but because it didn't, and I don't think that's really what you're going for, but it really relaxed me into the most restful sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I did not wake up all night. I woke up, got my 8 hours, feeling refreshed, feeling like I just had a great night's sleep. So I'm like really a fan. There's all kinds of products. There's Revive, there's Elevate, and it says if it's like medium THC, low THC, or THC free, of course. So we're just really big fans of the brand. And again, it's affordable, accessible, premium products made in the USA, award-winning service, quality ingredients, all the things you guys are looking for. So this holiday season, gift yourself some peace of mind. If you're 21 plus, check out the link to Via in our description and use the code GGE to receive 15% off. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. This holiday season, enhance your everyday with Via. Again, hit that link in our episode description. We'll put it up on the screen as well, and then use the code GGE.
Okay, and with Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privilege of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC.
Okay.
This documentary has been occupying my brain space. I talked to you about it 2 different times, and then I monopolized dinner about it.
Okay.
So the new Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix came out. It's called Martha.
The Martha. One name. That's the only Martha.
Like, we'll talk about her response to it. I thought it was fantastic,
Yeah.
and I loved learning about this woman. I felt like even more impressed by her than I've ever been. I had no idea how many lives she lived. The first female billionaire. I mean, she's so tremendously impressive. And I remember when she went to jail, but I didn't really remember the parameters around it. I mean, when I learned that she went to jail for a $45,000 trade, that is not really the story that had been sold to me.
But like her crime wasn't even insider trading. It was just that she lied. Like I liked when they called it a bitch hunt. I was like, I love that. They wanted to take down this woman.
Yes, I mean,
it
that's
was
how it
really
felt.
crazy. And yeah, I remember all the headlines, but it's also a study in what the media would do at that time in the early 2000s and really just tear someone down in the tabloids, and especially a woman. It's like what the media did to Britney, and people had decided that she was a bitch and they were coming for her. Not everybody. I did like to see like her supporters and people really realize just how ridiculous this is, and like this is happening because you just like want to use her as an example, and it's a bunch of men coming after this successful, powerful woman. But that aside, I loved it so much. She's such a trailblazer. She is like the icon, like the GOAT. I loved everything about it, and we'll talk about what she didn't like about it.
They call her the original influencer in this documentary,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because she really anchored an entire brand around just her name, and that was unheard of. They were just like, you can't do this. If she named a magazine, a lifestyle company, the whole brand is about her. And, people are scared to invest in a company like that because if you die, they didn't even think about her going to prison, but if something happens, then the whole brand falls. But she really bet on herself, and she was so far ahead of her time.
So confident. I mean, and just a perfectionist. And, some of these things that made her so successful also made people think she was a bitch and all those things. And sometimes that's just kind of what comes with the territory. I mean, people don't treat men like that. And they don't talk about men in that way too. But I made some notes about some things this cheating stuff. I was gagged. She is saying my husband was a cheating piece of shit. And then the interviewer was like, well,
if somebody does that to you, you leave them immediately.
Yeah. And then the interviewer was like, but didn't you cheat first? And she was like, yeah, but that didn't matter. And then
she goes, he never knew about that.
Didn't you kiss someone on your honeymoon? And listen, I love her. She's an icon. It is different. All these girlfriends, all these affairs is different than the one-off little thing she had going on. I don't know. I'll defend her to the end. People think about her as this very cold, unemotional, unfeeling person. And she even talks about herself like that too. But it seems like she just kind of became that way over the years. Again, she had kind of a rough childhood and she wasn't hugged enough and her, dad was abusive and all that. But you hear those letters she wrote to her husband and I mean, that's emotional. And she wouldn't say them in the documentary. She was like, I sent you the letters. You can read the letters if you want. I'm not re-traumatizing myself. So
I mean, she's a really interesting case study and just personality in general. And she went to prison, and at the time, her boyfriend was the man who created Excel.
I don't know, some successful guy, but I didn't understand. He didn't even visit her in prison, and then she got out, and he was still her boyfriend. I'm like, Martha.
So he was tremendously successful. I mean, it had to have been a billionaire. And they said, did he visit you in prison? And she said he didn't want to be associated with somebody in prison, but he sent a plane to pick her up when she got out of jail, and then they get back together and continue their relationship. And the way she speaks about it is not as though she was upset or hurt, but I think she is a hurt person. It's just this veneer that you see outside of it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it really was. I loved that the roast put her back on the map. It was such a fascinating study in pop culture too, and kind of this fall from grace. And then when she got out of jail, people were willing to accept her back. Not that I think people threw her away, but she had that TV show and it just didn't really go that well. And then she did kind of become less relevant. And then this roast put her back on the map. I forgot how iconic that roast was. And obviously she sat next to Snoop for 7 hours and that's what started their friendship. But it's interesting what roasts can do. I mean, what the Tom Brady roast did with Nikki Glaser, she was very much a famous comedian, but it catapulted her into a different stratosphere, like a roast, a performance in that type of comedy. I love that that's what really can elevate someone in that way, because I'm obsessed with that type of comedy, obviously, roasting,
She is such an anomaly to me. There's so many contradictions in who she is.
Yeah.
And, her brand is to be this Susie homemaker almost. It's to cook and clean and make things better in the home, but she couldn't be more of a business tycoon, type A badass head of industry. I mean, everything about her is this contradiction. And to see her on stage, this older white lady telling jokes about how she's done more prison time than all the other black men on stage. I mean, it's incredible to watch it. I remember that moment in time was just so special. I mean, you're just watching this going how is this even happening?
I know. And how she didn't really know they were going to roast her and she still just fucking took it. She just, to not know that that's going to happen, that would just kill some people. Someone would just be oh no.
Also,
melting down.
How does she not know?
What does she care?
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
That's so funny.
Unbothered is her demeanor. I also liked that she was really at the height of her career, even in her 40s. I think she was an original trailblazer when it came to that too. Obviously she was this beautiful woman when she was young and she was a model, and then she started to get into her middle age and she was still so famous. She didn't even go to jail till what, 60s?
I think she was 60 something when she went to prison.
She was still on top of the world. And I just also think it's one of these things we talk about all the time. She was too successful, too perfect in people's eyes, and they wanted to tear down a woman like that.
not likable, not how people wanted a woman to be. So she fully participates in the documentary. She's in the whole documentary. Her daughter's face is not in it, but she does voiceover. Her grandchildren are not in it. But the New York Times ran an article about her response to the documentary, and the author of the article said, I called her for like a 10-minute soundbite, essentially, and out came roughly 30 almost uninterrupted minutes of sharp critique. I mean, she hated it.
Well, she loved the first half.
Yeah.
And she had some notes. And I understand. Like,
understand
for one, the music, the fact that she wanted Dr. Dre to score it and they just went with this like boring classical, the music didn't bother me. But the fact that it could have been Dre and it could have had more Snoop. I mean, they got a little Snoop in there at the end when the credits rolled. But like the music, that would have been incredible. Also, like Dr. Dre, it wouldn't have been all rap the whole time, but like it would have been so different and special. So that was my main thing that I was like, I'm with you. But the thing that I really felt for was, she said the camera angles were shit, but she said they showed a lot of like this point in her life where she was physically struggling. Like in her garden, or like she was limping. Yeah.
I felt for her because she said the last shots of the documentary was me alone in this garden and depicting me as this like lonely old lady who had nobody. And I really felt for her because this is the documentary of one of the most pioneering women in history. And that's how you wrap it up.
But I want to tell her, I'm sure she's listening, we didn't feel like that. You know, like everyone viewing this felt inspired. No one viewed her like that. Of course, she's going to be critical. She's a perfectionist. I would feel the exact same way. I feel like you're not going to 100% love a documentary that you didn't 100% produce.
I mean, you and I have never loved anything anybody's written about us in articles we've written the answers to.
Exactly. So the way people kind of change things also could take things out of context. And the decisions that are made creatively, you're just not going to be happy with them. But I do think like everyone out there is like, Martha, we loved it. Like, you critique away. Like, I'm glad she came out and said that stuff. She shouldn't have to be quiet about it, but I just really did love it. But yeah, I would have liked to see some different music. And I understand what she's saying of like, why'd you focus on this time in my life where I was like actually physically like injured too?
Yeah, there was a lot of it. I mean, I think for most people, the most prominent thing about Martha Stewart is that she was this huge celebrity, went to prison, you know, and that story was so sensationalized. And I thought it was just, I mean, listen, nobody should insider trade. It's a bad thing to do, but I didn't realize it was for like a 30-second phone call and a $45,000 trade. And that was a huge bulk of it. And she said, I didn't really love that they focused on this so much, but to me, that is what people wanted.
But she also, one thing she said was they didn't focus enough on the magazine, which is like, was the first of its kind. And I was reading some comments and people were like, that magazine deserved more Martha Stewart Living. Like it really, they kind of glossed over it. I think it got its airtime, but I think she would have wanted to have more magazine focus and less prison. But I need to talk to you about insider trading.
Sure.
I think I would get caught for that in a minute. Like, I think I don't, like, I should never be in charge of a publicly traded company.
Okay.
Because
good to know.
No, I'm half kidding. This comes, someone's going to run the tape one day when we're ringing the bell on Wall Street. No, like, if all my family invested in our company and then I was like, oh shit, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
It would be hard not to tell them, like,
totally.
Where's the line?
No, that's the line. You're like, you are gag ordered. You're not supposed to tip people off.
Okay.
And it's like, if your family all sold their stock in what we were doing, somebody would know that they were tipped off and that it was you and not me. Although, let's... Of the two of us, I probably have a shittier moral compass, so it's probably me that's going to tip them off.
Where is the line of what you can share and what you can't?
Zip it.
But like, what if I'm just talking to my mom about the company?
If you're just like, so I guess if you take specifics out of it, and if you're like, I'm worried, wink, wink, like you could get like a safe word like elephant, and like if I ever say elephant to you, you got to sell. It will be obvious because the people close to you will have sold their shares the day before.
It seems like a fine fucking line. And I remember watching that episode of Sex and the City and Samantha was fucking that guy. And didn't he tell her like buy this stock or something? And they came in and arrested him. And it really is kind of that simple.
I mean, I think it's a zero tolerance policy. I mean, I think insider trading could be anything. I could be that you're on a date with some guy and he's like, I think my company's going under, and you sell all the stock and like you've insider traded.
Yes.
But it's like, why shouldn't I use the information provided to me?
Yeah. And of course, this is something that shouldn't happen. This isn't fair. You know, I get it. I understand why this is illegal. But it's just, I was watching it like, damn, it would be tough. It would be tough.
I mean, I'd be so mad at you if like you knew the company was going under, you didn't tell me about it. Like, I would be super mad.
And then her fucking friend who threw her under the bus, that was crazy to me. I don't know if that friend had a vendetta, but basically her friend was kind of the nail in the coffin. Her friend that went to Cabo with her was just like, she basically said like, it's good to know people in high places kind of thing with this info. And it's like, I don't know what happened there. I don't know if that was some sort of revenge, if they had a falling out, but like, I would never fucking do that to you. Like, I'd be like, I don't remember. We were on the margaritas. Like, we were in Cabo. I don't know what she said.
Right. But I think that like the whole story they're trying to paint is that she's not a nice person. She's really cold. She's really verbally abusive.
I know, but why did the friend do that? Like, that was her best friend.
She was her friend was like, I fucking hate you.
Okay. Well, then that's why. I just didn't know that. I guess maybe I missed it. Did they have a rift? Why did the friend do that?
The friend didn't say why she necessarily did it because Martha Stewart was like, that was the maid of honor at my wedding.
Well, Martha said they were coming at her. I think they were, but still.
I think that woman I think they were frenemies.
Interesting.
And I don't think Martha Stewart is a particularly like feeling kind person. So like I could see building a lot of animosity having been around her for a long time. But Ashley and I are obsessed with this documentary. You guys should watch it. It actually has me like Googling biographies of her. I want to like learn more about her. I'm fascinated by her. And she's lived so many lives. She's such an anomaly to me.
Well, and again, like I just really love how she became relevant and popular again. Yes, the roast, but also with social media. Like she figured it out. The Thirst Trap heard around the world. That's the cover of the Netflix movie. Like I remember seeing it go live.
I know.
Because I would
I do too.
I would send it to Dylan Palladino.
Dylan brought it to me. So our like 28-year-old comedian friend was like, I'm gonna fuck Martha.
Like he really wants to get it in with Martha. But like I remember that pool selfie and I was like, look at this bitch. She really is that bitch. And I love the documentary and you guys should watch it. But our love for Martha Stewart runs deep. Like we were talking about her a few weeks ago with her Olympics, the pictures she was taking at the US Open.
Do you remember we were at an event with her? Years ago. It was me, you, and those it was when early on we started the podcast, and it was like some convention, and there was different speakers on different stages, and you and I spoke at something, and she was on a panel in the same room as us.
What?
Giving a talk, and she walked right by us.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't even believe it. We breathe the same air.
I know. I didn't even know.
So anyway, we recommend that. And
you've really been on your game watching stuff lately.
I'll just throw out what I've been watching. I watched Woman of the Hour, which is about a serial killer. They call him the dating game serial killer.
Game show serial
killer because he went on the show The Dating Game. Anna Kendrick directed it and stars in it. Listen, it was right on the line for me. I almost turned it off. It was well made, well directed. I am a fan of Anna Kendrick's work, but it was right on the line of violence for women. I mean, you know me. I don't like excessive rape or violence. I don't get into true crime because a lot of it is violence against women. I didn't watch Dahmer. Like, I just don't consume that type of content. I really don't like it. And I almost did turn it off. And it's not even that graphic. It's just I don't like that type of content. But I pushed through, and I think Anna Kendrick did an amazing job. I think the story, and this is a spoiler. Did you watch it?
So I know about Rodney Alcala. Is that his name? I've listened to a Crime Junkies episode about him. He was just they called him that because it was sort of like quippy, but he just was a serial killer in the 70s and 80s.
And he went on this game show, and Anna Kendrick plays the woman who was the bachelorette on the show, and she chooses him, from behind the wall, and then he doesn't kill her. She gets out of it or whatever. But it's enthralling how he was caught, this young, like, teen runaway. Like, he, assaults her, like, in the desert, and she wakes up and he's next to her, and she like does this whole thing like, can you just not tell anybody about last night? Like, basically it's like as if he had raped her, and she was like, it just would be really embarrassing for me. And he's like caught off guard. I think he was probably about to kill her because he didn't kill her the prior night for whatever reason. And then she's like, can we just like go back to your house? And he's like, okay. And they're on this, they're always in like the desert, these deserted areas, and they go to get gas, and she takes off and she goes and tells somebody, and that's how they arrest him. It's crazy. I had chills. Like, it's crazy that's how he was caught. I mean, you love to see it, but then he did get out on bail and killed more women.
Yeah, I remember.
So it was like very devastating, understatement. And he was just truly like hiding in plain sight. So it's popular on Netflix. I watched it. I don't know those type of stories. Like, I don't know what to say about it. It was like, I almost did, almost turned it off. But
Well, I mean, I felt
pushed
the
through.
same way. And I don't want to like shit on people's art because if you guys like it, great.
Of
But, like,
course,
the
no.
Menendez brothers documentary felt the same to me. It was hard for me to push through it. The depiction, it's called Monsters, also on Netflix. I remember this crime when it happened, and I didn't really necessarily need to relive it. The entire Menendez family, 24 people, did a joint statement, released it, and said Ryan Murphy basically fabricated this whole story. He made the brothers out to be horrific monsters, so much worse than was ever the truth. They imply that these boys had a sexual relationship with each other. They make one of the brothers look like an absolute psychopath. It's a fabrication as if the story wasn't so terrible enough. However, what this has done is it has encouraged the district attorney to reopen the case and potentially release these boys after 30 years of being behind bars, which, listen, I think they served their time. So
Yeah, I stand with Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
She thinks so too.
So I think it must be horrible to be re-traumatized, to live through this horrible thing, and then to have somebody write your story and feel like this was just a total lie and fabrication. But I guess if the positive is that this case has been reopened, maybe they'll be let out of jail.
Okay, right, exactly. So that's kind of a result of the documentary. Or the show. I didn't watch it. On a lighter note, I watched Lonely Planet,
Yeah.
which is starring Laura Dern and Liam Hemsworth.
Could you cast a movie better?
Viewers cannot get enough of this older woman, younger man. We're getting like one a quarter, maybe two. I love this. Like, this is what people want right now. I feel like I think obviously these stories have always existed, but I think the Idea of You especially really popularized this.
What's the Nicole Kidman one called?
That's coming out, Baby Girl.
Baby
And then
Girl.
she was also in the other one recently with Zac Efron. But when I first read the description and then I saw the casting, I was just like, wait, Laura Dern and Liam Hemsworth, they're not going to fuck. And then it starts, I'm like, and then he comes into this writer's retreat with his girlfriend. And I'm like, how's this going to happen?
And you're like, they are
He's
gonna
going to break up with the girlfriend in Morocco? And I mean, spoiler alert, but obviously they get together. I loved it. It was feel good. I liked the story. It wasn't like just too rom-commy. There was conflict and it was hot. He is hot. Hot take.
No, he's so hot. She's so hot. I just love her.
Love Laura Dern forever.
She's so cool.
Yes.
If I was a younger man, I would date her. Can I tell you?
I'm telling you, these stories are important. It's important that people see this. Like women of a certain age as sexy, as desirable. It's really important. Like we can talk about it and like, hot cougars and whatever the fuck else. But like at its core, like these stories are really important. Like we haven't always had them. It's always back in the day, it was just Mrs. Robinson. That's it, or Stifler's mom. And now you really see this as not so fetishized. This is like, these can be real love stories.
Can I just tell you two more recs. Shrinking, which we love.
Shrinking's back.
On Apple, season 2, Jason Segel is a therapist. Harrison Ford is in it. I love it so much.
I laugh out loud.
Season 2 is fantastic.
Yes.
And there's a new movie that just got announced for Christmas. I'm very excited to watch this with you. It's called Christmas in the Spotlight.
It's about podcasters?
It's about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. It's about a famous singer and then this
it's like
guy who he's a former football player. He brings his daughter to her concert and then they like fall in love.
I'm obsessed.
I'm so excited. I was laying in bed this morning just giggling in bed. It looks so fun.
Let's also, when we get closer, we'll do our holiday movies that are coming out.
Okay.
I know there's some more, and I think that we are going to get a little more sex and spiciness this year.
Okay.
This holiday
Maybe
season.
your dad will watch with us this year. All right. And then to wrap up our TV viewing for the week, we're the biggest Love is Blind stand. So we're going to just briefly touch on the reunion. Listen, I know a lot of people said it was boring. I liked it.
What?
Oh my gosh. People are all over the internet are saying
it was boring?
Boring.
I thought that was the complete opposite. There was a lot that happened. I didn't think people thought it was boring. The UK one was boring just because it was so civil and polite and nice. This was not boring. I think they spilled all the tea.
I thought it was fantastic. I loved the full hour and a half. Listen, I think it could have been better if Ashley and I hosted it? Yes.
The most cringe person on that stage is Nick Lachey. What is happening? We were talking about this with Nick Vial. I was like, do they have joke writers? Like, what was he doing? He had these jokes. He was so excited his whole Taylor Swift joke thing. And then the thing they kept talking about, the wrap it up. Like, they had these jokes that they were like, we're killing it. It is painful to watch. I love it. I love cringe like that. But like, what is happening?
When he dropped 3 Taylor Swift jokes just back to back to back, just because her name is Taylor.
That's it? That's the bit?
I think they did a decent enough job wrapping up every storyline. I mean, I think there's only so much we're going to get out of some people. Like you and I were talking about Monica and Steven, and I said, I don't think that they like went in on Steven enough. And you said he just really came out of the gate with like, I don't know what else you guys want me to say about this.
Yeah. All the men pissed me off. I mean, even Garrett.
That jacket.
His outfit for one. I just feel like he tried to belittle everyone for caring about the like Hannah and Nick thing. He was like, this is just immature and like beneath me. And I am trying to be understanding that everyone has their own story. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but the way he spoke about moving away from his family in Maryland, he sounded like a little bitch. You never know what's going on.
Well, also,
he turned me off.
I also remember they filmed this stuff for like 10 hours. You don't know what was cut out, what context is removed from things. And I think that some storylines were wrapped up enough. I think that Marissa went way harder on Nick than she went on Ramses. But I think that she was kind of channeling that anger of Ramses towards Nick. And again, they might have cut out her going at Ramses.
Yeah, and she still seemed hurt.
Yeah, she did.
She might have, we'll talk about her new man, but she might have obviously still had feelings for him. Like, you never know what was going on in her head. Hannah needed coaching. I could have coached her up so well.
Who coached Leo? Because she should have gone to the same coach. Leo was the most likable person on that stage. He came out, he was open and contrite. He said, I embarrassed myself. The way that I talked about these women, I mean, he did double down with that weird pasta steak thing, comparing the two of them to dishes. But other than that, I like what he said. He said, I'm embarrassed.
He had a redemption arc for sure. And he showed accountability, and that's what people want to see. And Hannah might just have a huge ego. I mean, she might just be an ego-driven, uncaring bitch. I mean, who's to say? I think that's what people are saying, but to not go into that and like really have heard from anybody, and maybe she got advice and she ignored it and she was like, I got this and I'm going to look like a bad bitch. But you should know with these shows, what people want to see is like a little bit of accountability and self-reflection. And you don't have to do it. I mean, she doubled down, but it's just, I was surprised because I thought she might be different and be like, you know what, I'm going to win him back over.
Mm-hmm. I expected some bit of humility, and I wouldn't even mind it if she said like, I still stand by how I felt, and this was not the person for me, but like I was extremely unkind to a person that never pushed back on me and didn't insult me. And maybe he did insult her left and right. We never saw it. But like I could have accepted that. I could have accepted her being like, this is my standard for how I want to be with somebody. But my delivery was really mean and unkind and also not self-reflective.
She did say her delivery was bad. It just, the tone was off and the messaging, everything should have been done so differently because she did have this moment of like hearing that he had talked about her looks and everybody kind of validated that. So she could have gone in on that at the same time, being more accountable. Like she could have spun it.
Let me ask you a question. Did she know about the looks thing during filming? Because
I don't know.
Like, I was curious if she was like, see, I acted like this because you guys didn't know what was going on behind closed doors. But I did not get the feeling that she actually learned about any of that until afterwards.
She learned about it on stage?
Yeah.
No.
When they made the whole stage go around one by one, call her a grenade.
But no, but like she at least knew from her friends before. So she should have had that as ammo. And if she was smart, if she had PR, coaching, media training, they would have been like, listen, what you got to do is be like, he was making me feel insecure about my body and
like
my
Zenob.
looks, and you guys don't know what was going on behind closed doors, and I understand my delivery was off, but I was like feeling insecure. I mean, listen, but that's not who she is, so it's fine. You know, it's like you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped.
People seem afraid of her. Marissa was like, that's my best friend, she's mean to me. That basketball player, the girl who works at the NFL, was also like, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like
she's a villain.
I do think that she's 26 and people just grow up and they tone it down and they learn how to build some finesse into things and have empathy for others. And I do hope that for her because, you know, she got me when she was crying on stage and Vanessa said, well, don't you love yourself now? And she was like choked up and feeling, you know, clearly this is a person that's not proud of themselves.
Yeah.
At some place in their heart.
Is she? Yeah. It's just like, did she speak to anyone? You know, like if she was like, I'm going to go on there and win back America, like someone should have given you some advice. And then outside of the reunion, Marissa has a new man. She hard launched him.
I don't know about this.
What?
I was waiting for you to tell me.
Oh, so do you want to see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she hard launched this new man, and I like her caption a lot. So obviously a little bit of shade at Ramses, but she posted this like hot, sexy video.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're on
Holy shit.
they're at Halloween.
She is half naked. She looks incredible.
Yeah.
What an incredible costume.
And her caption says, "Life has a funny way of surprising you. I never expected to fall in love again, let alone with someone who embraces all my energy and flaws. When we first met, I asked him if I was too much. He looked at me confused and said, 'What do you mean?' I simply replied, 'Never mind.' And from that moment on, I never questioned my energy again." Oh. Can I tell you my favorite comment? Someone wrote, "And he doesn't have 2 tampons hanging off the side of his head." The tampons got me.
The nerve of that guy to look like that and criticize her. I don't like the energy of the tampons hanging off your head.
Yeah, she looked gorgeous. I mean, I wrote this on my Instagram. I really kind of live commentated the whole thing, but she looked gorgeous. I mean, all the women looked incredibly gorgeous,
Yeah.
and these guys looked ridiculous. Like, I was like, we have Prince sitting next to MC Hammer up here.
What were these outfits?
You know, like it was crazy. Like the women always come and they're serving. And so she looked incredible. He looked so stupid.
He looks so ridiculous.
But I loved the reunion and I'm so excited for Minneapolis.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next season, which is airing on Valentine's Day, right? 4
5.
years.
5.
5 years after the premiere,
Yes.
which was in 2020.
a 5-year anniversary in Minneapolis. Minneapolis listeners, we will see you soon next weekend.
Yeah.
So maybe someone will be in the audience. It's going to be on the show.
Oh my God, my dream.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like there's some crossover there.
Oh, it would be my
These
dream.
people are just regular people right now.
Oh my God,
like,
what
no
if
one
they're-
knows
what
who
if
they
they're there
are.
with one of their husbands and we get the tea ahead of time?
Listen, if anybody is on Love is Blind Minneapolis, low key DM us. We want you at the show.
I want it so bad, you guys.
I know.
Seriously, it's our favorite show.
I'm really
Okay.
excited. Okay, well, I think that about covers it. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Girlsgottaeat.com. You can find everything about us and those tour tickets to Minneapolis, Denver, Madison, Wisconsin, New York City, and Boston through the end of the year. Girls Gotta Eat podcast on Instagram and TikTok. I'm Ash Hess. Raina is Raina.Greenberg. YouTube, subscribe, leave a comment, share this episode with a friend, and we will see you Monday.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Bye.